My name is Jessica Nelson. I'm going to be demonstrating how to perform a gastrointestinal exam. So to begin, my name is Jessica. I'm going to be performing your gastrointestinal exam. Just so that you are aware, I'm going to be talking to you and to the camera so that others may learn from this experience.
Okay.
So to begin with your gastrointestinal exam, it's going to be in 4 different parts. We're going to be inspecting, auscultating, percussing, and then palpating. So to begin with inspecting, we're inspecting the abdomen and we're noting the color. So Caucasian, we're noticing if there's any bruising, lesions, any scars, striae, any vascularities. That's what we're looking for while we're inspecting. We're also inspecting the umbilicus. So noting the color again, that it is the same as the rest of the abdomen. We're also looking at the contour of the umbilicus. So whether it's protruding or recessing, with this patient, it is recessed in. And then also noting the location of the umbilicus. So if it's too high, too low, off to the side. We're also looking and inspecting the abdomen itself, the abdomen's contour. So noticing if it's bulging or if it's flat. With this patient, it is flat. Next, we're going to be looking at the abdominal movements. So noticing if there's any peristaltic waves happening, if there's any aortic palpitations that are also going on. So with this, we can also note if there is any herniations occurring in the abdomen by just having the patient lift up their head. And you would be able to see bulging occurring if there was any. You can put it back down, thanks. All right, so next we're gonna be moving on to auscultation. So with auscultation, as we're listening for the intensity, the frequency, and the tone of the sounds. So we're going to be doing all 4 quadrants of the abdomen, and we're going to be doing with the diaphragm and with the bell of the stethoscope. Moving to the right lower quadrant and the left lower quadrant. And then doing the same thing with the bell. Going to the right lower quadrant and the left lower quadrant. And while we're here, we can also we can also listen to the aorta, which is right above the umbilicus. And notice if there is any bruits occurring. And then turning to the bell and listening as well. While we're here, we can also listen to the femoral arteries. Switching to the bell, just listening for any bruits. Okay. So now that we've listened for those vascular sounds, we can also listen for friction rubs. So we're going to be listening for the right upper quadrant where the liver is. And listening on the bell. And then going over to the left upper quadrant where the spleen is. And then moving to the bell. Now that we've listened for those, noting the intensity, frequency, and tone of those sounds, we're going to be moving on to percussion. So with percussion, you're wanting to put your finger against the patient and you're going to be using just the first half of the finger, and you're going to take your other hand and you're going to I take my middle finger, and you're going to flick your wrist, and you're going to hit right here between the finger right here at the indentation. So we're going to just be doing the right upper quadrant, noting the tympanic sound. It's okay to have a tympanic sound because that's where the air is. The dullness is where fluid would be or where the organs are located. So to know where the liver is located, we can put our finger right here, we can percuss. So there's that dull sound right underneath here. And then we're gonna have the patient take a deep breath and hold it. And we're gonna go in between the intercostal spaces. And we're noting where that goes. You can release it now. Noting where it goes from that dull to that tympanic. That tells you the size of the liver. And normal liver size is about 4 to 7 centimeters. So moving on to the left upper quadrant where the spleen is, this is hard to percuss because it's underneath the ribs. So what we do is we go where the 10th intercostal space of the ribs are and off to the side, and we percuss, and we hear that dull sound. And so then we're gonna have the patient take a deep breath and hold it. And now all of a sudden it's tympanic, you can release it. That's a good sign. That is saying that the spleen is moving up as you take a deep breath, and that it's not distended and staying there as they're breathing. So then we can also percuss the urinary bladder, and that way we know how full the bladder is. So it should be going from dull to tympanic. And again, that just notes if there's any distension. So next we're gonna have the patient sit up, and we're gonna do the CVA tenderness test. So this is the costovertebral angle tenderness test. And that is showing you that if the kidneys are enlarged or inflamed, then there's gonna be some tenderness. So Trent, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have you sit at the edge of the bed. Okay, so you can see the patient's back right here, and you're looking for the 12th rib, and you're taking that angle right here, and then you're noting the spine right here. See that angle right there? You're gonna put your hand over it, and then you're gonna take your other hand with a fist, and you're gonna hit it, and you're gonna have the patient tell you if it hurts or not.
Nope.
And then we're gonna do the other side.
No.
Okay, and that's a good thing. So Trent, I'm gonna have you lay back down, and we'll move on to palpation. So again, this is a good thing because it notes if it was positive, that would be saying that it was tender and that it was inflamed and that there's something going on there that we need to inspect further. So moving on to palpation. Palpation, you're wanting to palpate with the pads of your fingers. So first you do a light palpation in each of the quadrants to know if there's any tenderness. So Trent, tell me if there's any tenderness as I do this. So we start in the right upper quadrant, moving to the left upper quadrant, moving to the left lower quadrant, to the right lower quadrant. Is there any tenderness there? Okay, and going over the umbilicus and the aorta. Is there any? Okay, we're gonna do it a little bit deeper. No? Okay. And then while we're here, we're also gonna palpate the urinary bladder to see if there's any tenderness.
No.
Okay, that's good. You can also know if the bladder is distended at that point as well. So next we're gonna be doing a deeper palpation. So we're gonna start in the right upper quadrant where the liver is, and right behind the liver is the gallbladder.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So we're moving to the left upper quadrant where the spleen is, and actually you shouldn't even be able to palpate the spleen because it should be underneath the ribs. If you are palpating the spleen, then that would be noting that it is distended. Going to the right lower quadrant where the appendix is, and bowel. And then going to the left lower quadrant where the colon is. And sometimes this is tender. Is that tender at all?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So with this, you can note if you can test for a positive Murphy's sign, which is inflammation of the gallbladder. So we're going to do a deep palpation. We're going to have the patient take a deep breath in and hold it. Can you take a deep breath? Any tenderness there?
No.
You can release it. Okay. Next, we're going to go on for testing the appendicitis. So going in the right lower quadrant, and we're going to do a deep palpation, and we're going to let go, and we're going to see if there's any pain as we're letting go.
No.
Okay. To also test for appendicitis, you can do the Roth size test, the ileosis test, and the the operator test. So next, as we tested for the Murphy sign and that was negative, we tested for the appendicitis. Next, we're gonna test for ascites. I can tell you right now, just by looking at the patient, they don't have ascites. This is when your abdomen is filled with fluid, but we can test. So if you are suspecting ascites, what you can do is you can do the fluid wave test. So you're going to take your hand and you're going to put it on the side of their abdomen, and you're going to have them take their hand and put it right there and press down, and this holds their organs in place. And then you're going to take your other hand and you're going to hit this. Now, if they had ascites, you would be able to feel that fluid wave come back and hit your hand, which I can't. So you would feel that fluid wave come back and hit your hand. That would be a positive sign for the fluid wave test. You can also percuss the borders of the abdomen. If the patient was laying flat like this, as you would be percussing along the edges, this would be dull because that would be where the fluid was. And then you would have the top of the abdomen where that would be more of a tympanic sound as you're percussing, because this would be where the air is held. So that is all I have for right now. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you again.